system started to shift. But I didn't really realize it was happening. So that was my introduction to my first teacher, was yoga. And my second teacher that I came into was travel. I did medical missions in third world countries. I was living with poor families in Ecuador, Honduras. We were at the top of the mountain, and these people lived simple lives. I experienced poverty for the first time. Even though my family didn't really have a lot of money, we still had food, we had a house, and so when I was traveling to these other places, I started realizing that New York City was not the center of the world. I realized that there was other ways to live where people were happy, these simple lives close to nature, close to the earth. They had their own medicine men, their own healers and shamans, and this started to pique my curiosity. They didn't have prescription medication. And there were moments that we were in these clinics, these makeshift clinics, that I was wondering if we were even doing them a service. You know, if their blood pressure was a little bit higher, we would give them antihypertensive, so blood pressure medication. And I just started questioning a lot of what I was doing. And aside from these medical experiences abroad, I was also traveling for leisure. And I even though I had I went to NYU for medical school, and that was probably $60,000 a year. So I was accruing all of this debt for school, but I had this bee on my back. I was so curious, and I was seeking, that I started to realize this human condition is what we make it, and it's different for everyone. So I remember I was scuba diving on the Barrier Reef, and I was under the water, and I was like, this is peace. I'm connecting with the earth. And I started to really experience nature for the first time, because living in a concrete jungle, there's times we don't see soil for so long. And I was like, wow, nature, oh my goodness. And she was my second teacher, really. I really started to have this profound connection where I would cry when I would see a sunset. Like, these strange things were happening to me just from spending time in nature. And this is where that feeling of oneness starts to come in. But I didn't really know what was happening to me. It was this gradual process. And I cocktail waitress to fund that habit of traveling, because I was curious about the human condition. I was curious about our experience on this earth. Like, why are we here? Why am I putting myself through this sacrifice to do these crazy hours of studying and being in the hospital and not even taking care of myself? But I continued on. I wanted to be a dermatologist, and I did everything to be a dermatologist. And so in finding my third teacher, which was meditation, I was in Thailand, and it was right around the time I was going to find out about matching into a residency. And I went on this yoga retreat on a far-off island, and I had this human experience of feeling oneness, where I was on this boat going to this island called Koh Yao, and it's very remote. They don't even have paved roads. And we were on this boat, and I was sitting outside, and the weather was a little bit stormy. And I was just enjoying nature, and I was taking pictures of people in their natural element. And all of a sudden, it started to rain. And we were just like trying to get cover, and it was funny, and we were laughing. And I didn't even speak the same language as any of these people, but I started to cry. And I was like, oh my God, people think I'm crazy, because I felt that oneness again. That feeling of we're both human, and even though I don't speak your language, I understand you. And we're experiencing the same thing, and we don't even have to speak. Like, I feel you. And then I go to this place, and I was like, before going on this trip too, I was like, I don't need to meditate. I don't have anxiety. Like, I don't need to do that. And, because I was looking at some of the studies, we did learn some things about alternative medicine in medical school. I was like, I don't need to meditate. And when he described this teacher, he had this way about him, this presence, and it was almost as if he was in slow motion all the time. And he actually described meditation as this way to gain these supernatural abilities, this way of knowing which way to go next and allowing our path to unfold before us, this way to come into being able to control time and know what's next. And even this idea of increasing your creativity, and the way he described it, I was like, wow, maybe maybe I do want to try meditation. And so I got this taste of meditation there. And now even coming into knowing about the studies, it increases our creativity, our productivity. It regulates hormone balances. It decreases aging in that sense as well. It does help with anxiety and depression. But also I've realized that it does allow me to control time in a sense where I wake up before my alarms. If I'm having a meeting with someone and my phone's away, I get this feeling of, okay, it's time to check time and it's time to leave, and I get everywhere in time. Like things just happen really wonderfully. And I feel I attribute that to meditation because I'm more aware of my surroundings. So that was coming into my next teacher. And so through my travels, I began to realize, okay, something's missing. And I got into residency, and so I was in my first year of residency, and I was so unhappy. I just felt like we weren't practicing what we were preaching. We tell people, live this healthy lifestyle, eat this healthy food, and they're feeding us pizza for lunch. And it was just this toxic environment. And I feel like people would come in, and since I was always drawn to healing, I feel like I had this other sense of understanding people and where they were. And I remember we had just enough time to do a physical exam, ask a couple of questions, and then it was time for the next patient. So you just write a bunch of prescriptions and say, okay, here you go, as if now they're magically cured, and obviously they weren't magically cured. So I was feeling really unfulfilled, and I'm realizing people are mind, body, and spirit, and that spirit element is what was missing in the Western medicine model. And I decided to leave. And so after my first year of residency, I just left, and I booked a one-way ticket abroad. And I had no plan or timeline. I just knew that when I traveled, it put things into perspective. And so now with yoga and meditation and my connection to nature and traveling and really that seeker, so that's where that yogi was born. The definition of a yogi is not this person who does all these acrobatic poses, but someone who's a seeker of knowledge. And that thirst for knowledge and wanting to understand, like, why am I here? Why are we all here? Is what really just allowed me to go and detach from society expectations. And of course, my family's like, oh my God, Nikki, you just spent all this money to become a doctor and you have all this debt. Like, what are you doing? This is crazy. And then it's funny how my dad sent me a message on Facebook today. It was an article about how psilocybin, they found that psilocybin causes new brain cell growth in mice. So it's like now they're like supporting that. So it was really about coming into my true self, and that's what the teachers allowed me to do. So I'm abroad, I'm traveling, no plan, and I'm just experiencing life, and that's when I started meeting all kinds of healers around the world. So I was so curious about healing and all the different modalities of healing. And this is when plant medicines crossed my path. So in the title of the talk, Psychedelics and Yoga, my definition of psychedelics and how I've used them have been the plant medicines of the earth. So plants that have naturally evolved on the planet with us, they have a psychoactive compound. Why are they here? And I swore that I would never do drugs, and so I had this dilemma of like, wait, but isn't this a drug? But then when I got to understand how cultures and civilizations have been using them for thousands and thousands of years, of course, that yogi inside of me was like, well, I want to try this. Like, I'm curious. What is this about? And, they talked about it more as this connection to spirit or God or higher power or source. And of course, I was a little bit skeptical. Like, really? Like, what's going to happen like this? But of course, I did it. And I've done a few different types. I've done peyote, I've done ayahuasca, I've done DMT, which is found in plants, I am toads, mushrooms. So looking at the anecdotal evidence of when I went to different cultures, so I was in the middle of the Amazon, in the jungle, and the shaman's wife, I was in Shipibo village, I was there for 3 weeks, and the shaman's wife was telling me how she had all this hemorrhage that was happening from her, even in between periods and after she had menopause and all this stuff. So she went to a doctor and she found out that she had vaginal cancer. And so they decided to work with ayahuasca and the plants of that region that are known to have different healing abilities. And she went through a whole process of hemorrhaging and a horrible experience, really. But then when she went back to the doctor, she no longer had vaginal cancer. So I was really amazed, and I spoke to her myself, and I was really amazed by this. And then coming to understand that this peyote shaman that I worked with, he too was telling me how he would just prescribe a little peyote powder a day to people and say, okay, keep taking it until you're happy, and then stop taking it. So he was able to cure people of depression. And it's not something you have to take forever, like the SSRIs and all the depression medications that doctors give today. And then with my dad sending me this article, and really the research is starting. And I'm really happy that it is, because not only these health benefits that come from these plants, because think about it, all of the prescription medications, they come from plants. That's the root, that's how they find out, okay, we're gonna make this compound. But they use the reductionistic model where they take just the compound and put it into a pill for you to take. So you're actually losing all the other cofactors that help you digest it. So you're taking it out of its natural form, and really that's why herbalism is so wonderful, because it's the whole plant. So just to share with you a little bit about my experience when I tried these plant medicines, and I like to use the word medicine because I truly believe that using them in ceremony is what is really important, with strong intention. And not like, oh, I'm going to go to a party and I'm going to do mushrooms. And it's like, sure, you can do that, but you can go really deep and have really deep experiences, and sometimes very unpleasant experiences. It's not all like party, woo, rainbows and unicorns. Like, that's not what these medicines are about. And sure, people use them in that way. That's not the way that I choose to use them or believe in using them. And also, before sharing, just because I was called to use them at one point, and they were a teacher at one point, currently in my path, I'm not called to use them. So it's not like something you do forever and ever and ever. So I feel that what happened to me when I took them is I connected to this source of information. I don't know where it came from, and I just received so much information, like downloads of all of this, I guess, quote unquote, wisdom, these knowings that now are in my life. So it was almost as if I took a crash course. And it was a crash course in spirituality and understanding these universal laws and principles. And I understood what my purpose was on the planet. I was able to detach from an identity and what I'm supposed to do and how it's supposed to look, and it really allowed me to come into my true self of who I came here to be, and how I shared in that meditation. And I feel like I got glimpses of the future, and it just was this validation of, you are here for a purpose. And what I come to understand is that my purpose is to help awaken consciousness in humanity and be that gap between science and spirituality. So my path was perfect. Like, I was supposed to become a doctor. And after taking these plants, actually I did do my yoga training before I took the plant medicines, but even that was an accident. I just wanted to do a yoga retreat, and I was like, oh, well, I have all this time, I'm traveling abroad. Because I was like, I'm not going to become a yoga teacher, I'm a doctor. But really, it was perfect for my path. And so I just surrendered to always what that teacher told me in Thailand, how when you meditate, you just know what the next step is, your life unfolds before you, and that's what was happening to me. So what's the point of all of this, right? Like, why do all these teachers matter? The yoga, the meditation, the travel, the plant medicines, and really it comes down to a self-care practice. So I do believe that peace on earth is possible, and it begins with the self. And our self-care practice is what keeps us disciplined to be able to take the information you receive in the practice. So whether it's in your meditation or if you choose to go on psychedelic journeys, you receive this information, but that lives up here. So how do we bring it down to the real world and ground it? It's through the discipline of the self-care practice. So having that spiritual practice with whatever information you receive to then use your unique gifts and share it with the world. And so I'm standing here today because I was able to do that. And I have no idea how I'm meant to be of service. And as much as I think I can plan my life, I really can't. But I know that if I continue in my self-care practice and every day take that time to care for myself, that love, that time for myself, I begin to love myself more. I elevate in consciousness, I elevate in love, and then I can share that with others. So how, if I come to love myself, how can I harm anyone else? We're all one, we're the same. So if I truly love myself, I can't hurt anyone else. And so if we all begin to awaken in love, have our self-care practice, then this is how we can create peace on earth. And that change is possible, and the change begins with you. So leading by example and being that example. So that was a lot of information. And I want to open this time up for any questions that you might have, or anything more specific about my path, or curiosities that you might have, or something you want to hear a little more of. I'd say, yeah. I didn't even talk about utopia yet, but I can do that too. It's so many experiences, right? Many lives, even though it's only 30 years. My name is I'm actually I've been thinking all these things. She touched on something really important that I do want to talk about is the path can be a lonely one. When you choose a life of service and you're dedicated to your purpose, it can. And I've shared that with a lot of people, where sometimes I do feel like I'm the only one, because I don't feel like, after my yoga teacher training, I came back to New York and I was out in nightlife and I didn't want to drink alcohol anymore, and I was bored. I love to dance, so I would just dance and be like, okay, because that's also a meditation. And even getting, just a side note, getting into your self-care practice, it's whatever you feel allows you to connect to you and to your heart. So maybe you love to paint, or you love to take mindful walks, or you're a dancer. It doesn't have to be meditation and yoga. That's my path. But you can choose whatever path you want, and just connecting with yourself. And so I was going out to the Models and Bottle scenes and out at all the hottest clubs and the restaurants, and I was like, this is not my life anymore. Like, I'm different. And so I enjoy spending time by myself and going on beach walks, because I'm actually based out of California now. And I live at the ocean, and that's what I love to do. And sometimes it can be lonely, but it's actually solitude. Like, I appreciate that relationship with myself and cooking for myself. And even food has become spiritual practice for me, being really mindful of everything I put into my body. So So you're not alone. If you are curious about awakening, there is a community, and slowly those you are seeking you too, and you'll find them. So keep on. It's true. Thank you for being here. So yes, I believe that true healthcare is about prevention. So if we begin to educate from school, right? So think about it, we learn history, we learn algebra, we never learn about nutrition. And food is medicine. What we put into our bodies is what we become. So if money and funding in the systems was spent on educating people on healthy lifestyle and how to live, instead of allowing marketing and television to dictate what people buy, then yes, I think it will replace it, because I don't think there will be a need for prescription medication, because we'll be preventing the problems before they even happen.
So, right now, I try to live what I thought my life. So, there's a possibility that another both my previous years, still be so that did years ago. So let's say problems that years ago. Do you think we solve with overall meditation? Or do you think that they
So, if I understand correctly, you're saying if, just so also people who can't hear you, even if you've done harmful things to your body, like eating processed food and fast food, and maybe even smoke cigarettes, for example, will that damage still be there later, and that there's nothing to do, essentially, and that can a healthy lifestyle even protect you from that? Yes. So the answer is yes. So one of the things we learned in medical school too, just in terms of the physiology of the body, is that our body is really regenerative. So the walls of our intestines are constantly changing. New cells are constantly being generated all the time, and actually within 7 years, every cell in your body is replaced. So if you choose a healthy lifestyle today, then yes, in the future, it will be, you'll be able to prevent disease and even reverse some of the effects. The same thing, they found that in smokers. The smokers who stopped smoking, a lot of the damage to their lungs was able to be replaced. So the cells can absolutely regenerate and replace themselves. So absolutely, if someone begins a healthy practice today, that can reverse what damage has already been done. Well, that's one of the biggest challenges right now, is because things that don't cost money, such as pharmaceuticals, are not putting money in to do research. So for example, let's say these plant medicines, there's no way to really patent these medicines, and you can't really take the extract. I mean, sure, you can probably take psilocybin and all this stuff, but it's found in nature everywhere. So, and same thing, like they don't want to do research on meditation for anxiety and depression, because then there was all that money that was going into SSRIs or antidepressant meds. So that's really a public health issue that's happening right now, and we can vote with our dollars. Same thing with food. If you stop buying the sugary cereals, then they're going to stop making them. So even like Waldowns and all those like supermarket chains, they're bankrupt. So the change is happening. So remember, being conscious with your dollars and voting with your dollars and choosing conscious products is how we can affect change. So I feel that I don't see my
myself sitting in an office working one-on-one with patients. Even though currently I do work one-on-one with people, I do feel like it is about reaching the larger audience, and that was initially why I went on Utopia, was to use media as a platform to awaken consciousness and humanity. So I feel like I'll be able to reach the most amount of people through writing. So I write, and so writing books and speaking and really increasing awareness in as large of a means as possible. So I'm a licensed physician in New York. I just didn't stay to get board certified in a specialty, and I don't see myself writing prescriptions or any of that. So I don't feel that there's a necessity to go back to my residency. So I did complete my intern year. So yeah. Oh right. Yeah, I think like more of a revolution has to happen. It's like create the new system. So I will be here for more questions after. So our time's about up, but let's just finish with one last closing meditation and just come to sit nice and